everything I made as a beginner crocheter. This is such a huge pile, and honestly, it's a little overwhelming. Let's get into it. I've been crocheting for about a year and a half now. I started around March 2023. The moment I started, I fell in love with it. I haven't stopped crocheting since. However, I kind of go through phases with my crochet where some months I'm more into it and really productive, and other months not so much. I want to show you today everything that I've made as a beginner in my first year and a half of crocheting. I started teaching myself just with YouTube videos, and I have always wanted to crochet to create things to use around my house, so like clothes or blankets, things like that. Just started off with learning how to do a basic granny square and got obsessed with that. I know some people don't enjoy making granny squares, but as you'll see as we get into my projects, I really love it. I kind of love just the repetition of doing the same thing over and over again, like at the end of a long day, just to be able to turn my brain off and not have to think about what I'm doing is really nice. And I love doing something physical with my hands. I really enjoy it, and let's get into it. This was one of my first ever little projects. I tried to make kind of like a coaster for drinks or something, just a little round thing. I love the color of this yarn. I remember at the time being really unsatisfied with how this turned out, but looking at it now, I think it looks fine. I remember thinking like this part here, the end of the circle was not great. And I remember feeling really frustrated with myself, but looking at it now, it's perfectly fine. Do I use it as a coaster? No, but it's nice to look at it. So I made these next two projects out of the same squares. I just made a bunch of squares using the same yarn and then decided to see kind of like what I could create out of them. So I made this bag here, kind of like a classic granny square bag that I think probably everyone that's into crochet has made at some point. To be honest, it's very stretchy, so as soon as you put something into it, it gets really stretched out, especially the straps here. If anyone has a tip on how to make a good crochet strap that doesn't stretch too much, let me know. I really love how the black looks with all of the colors. It's really dynamic. I was happy with this. And then with the same squares, I also made myself a little vest. Let me show it off. This is what it looks like on. I figured out myself kind of like what does a vest look like and then how can I put the squares together for that. So I didn't follow any pattern of how to put the squares together, just sort of stitched the squares together and then made myself a little border and called it a day. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I like wearing it in winter to keep me warm. My next project was to make a double-sided pillowcase for a pillow that my aunt gave me. So I made a bunch of red granny squares and then one big like rectangle square for the back side of the pillowcase. I did not weave in all of my ends. I just sort of tucked them all in, and originally all these ends were on the back side, and now since they have popped out, I need to probably weave them in. But I was really happy with how this turned out as a cute little decoration pillow, and it was a pretty easy project to put together. So my next project, to keep the granny square obsession going, I got some thick yarn because I thought if I bought like thick yarn, then it would work up faster and I could complete a project even faster. So I bought some really big yarn and made a bunch of squares and tried to make myself a sweater out of it. It is honestly such a heavy sweater, and I never finished it. As I was making it, I thought the sleeves, like here you can see where I attached it and it gets skinnier. I thought it looked kind of strange. And yeah, I didn't weave in any of the ends, and I think it's a little bit of a cropped moment, the sweater. I still think it looks cool, and I'm still thinking about going back and finishing it sometime, maybe altering it a little bit. I love the style that I was going for with using chunky yarn. I think it is such a statement piece, and I would love to finish this and wear it this winter. Next, I made a blanket to keep my granny square obsession going. This is just one big granny square. It is a big square blanket, and I used just one yarn that kind of shifted colors and then put a white border on it. This took me, I think, at least a month or over a month to make. And at first it was really fun because you could just see the square getting bigger and bigger, but then at some point the blanket became so big that you couldn't even keep track of it growing anymore, and so it was hard to keep interest in still doing it. But I'm happy with how it turned out. It's like a small little throw blanket to put over my lap. Next, I tried to make a market bag. This was really fun to make. I've been meaning to make one ever since I first made this one. It was a really fun project, and I love the design of the mesh here. Again, it's really stretchy, so these straps, as soon as you put anything into the bag, stretch out like crazy. This fabric down here is really soft. I honestly think it would be better used for a garment rather than a bag. If I ever make a market bag again, I want to find sort of like a stiffer yarn, if that makes sense, because this is really stretchy. But it was a really fun project and I really like it. Now this next one was a bit of a fail. I made another bag, surprise, surprise. Do you see how huge this is? I did not anticipate that this bag would be this big. My boyfriend asked me to make a bag to hold his mate and thermosin. If you're Argentinian, you know what that is. I'll put a little picture on the screen here. I measured the bottom for how big it should be to hold his things, and I just sort of thought that, yeah, it would go up from there and it would be the right size. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger as I made it, and it ended up being so huge. I've used it a few times as kind of like a beach bag, but it doesn't work for its intended purpose. But I really love, again, this was like one yarn that shifted colors, and it's like a really thick and sturdy yarn, so it holds up pretty well the shape of the bag, and I love the like different colors here. So next, I made this chunky beanie. This was a pretty easy project to do. It worked up really fast. I love the really thick yarn, the chunkiness of it. Like every time I wear it in winter, I feel so cool. Hi, Milo. Hi, baby. I love wearing this in winter because I love the color of this yarn. It's so loud and I love that. Hey, baby. Hi, do you like my hat? Do you like my hat? I love how loud and bright the yarn is. It's really fun, and I love the thick chunkiness of it. So this is one of my favorite beanies to wear in winter. And it was such a fast and easy project to make. So this winter I want to try to make some more beanies and give them away as gifts. All right, back to my granny square obsession. I bought a bunch of different colored yarn and just made so many granny squares, and then I sewed them on to different tote bags. This is just one of them. I made multiple bags. My cat's playing with the yarn. This is just one of the bags that I made, and I gave a bunch of them away as gifts. I just like, yeah, zoning out, making squares and then putting them onto the tote bag. I put them onto actual tote bags this time because with my previous bags that I made, I kept seeing how everything stretched out. So I thought if I just decorated tote bags that I already had, that, yeah, it would look better. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. Again, I'm not the best with sewing in my ends, but who is? This is one of my favorite projects so far. I made myself a little bag, a bum bag, fanny pack, whatever you want to call it. I even added a zipper with my sewing machine. Like, wow, I'm fancy. So I made a different type of granny square here, so it was fun to like switch up and learn a different pattern. And I bought some hardware to put it all together, and I made a lining out of fabric and added a zipper. I love wearing it, and I always get so many compliments every time I wear this out and about. And yeah, I love the practicality of this project because some of my other ones I don't get to use so often, but this one I use a lot. Next, I made this wall hanging like decoration, just like a willow square with some little pom-poms. I think it's really cute and was pretty fun and easy to make. I also made another one that I gave away as a gift to a friend. And now this is a project that I started that I have not finished yet. It's supposed to end up being sort of like a summery top that I made out of a bunch of willow squares. So I need to finish kind of like doing up the sides a little bit, and then I want to add a border in the middle. I think it'll be really cute when it's done, but yeah, it's one of those projects that I started a while ago and then got bored and haven't gone back to finish. So it's something that, yeah, I need to go back to. And finally, the last project I'm going to share today is this. This is a hexagon cardigan that I made. Start off with like 2 hexagon squares, and then in the end you sew them together. I also made this little like cuff. I'm really pleased with how that turned out. This is what it looks like on. This also took me ages to do because it was such an accomplishment. And I think this was like my favorite piece that I've made so far in crochet. I love that I can wear it. I love how colorful it is. I also made another blanket. This one was a gift, so I no longer have it with me to show you, but I'll add some pictures. I made a bunch of little hexagons and then stitched them together as a gift for my mom for last Christmas. And that took me forever. It took such a long time. One of the things that I've definitely learned with crochet is patience, and that everything will take double the amount of time that I think it'll take, because you just think like, it's just a couple of squares, but then it always ends up being more squares than I anticipate, and stitching everything together in the end always takes longer than I thought. So yeah, I'm definitely learning that the projects take a while. And there you have it. Those are all of the things that I made as a beginner crocheter in my first year and a half. I honestly have a bunch of other like projects I haven't shown that are only like a quarter or halfway at the most done. Maybe I can make another video where I go into all of my different projects that I have going on at the moment and try to finish them. That would be some good motivation. So let me know in the comments below if you're interested in seeing that. Are you into crochet? What have you done? Let me know. Thank you for watching this video and see you next time. Ciao!